Nigga try to ruin the whole show, man. All these fucking good ass white people at my show, and you wanted to show them the reason George Floyd got his neck nailed on. It's just a joke, man. I would have never kneeled on George Floyd's neck. I would have shot that nigga. That was.
But you should be able to make the attempt, and that's freedom of speech. That's like the fundamental backbone of the whole freedom of speech, argument there. So yeah, man. Like, but at the same time, and I even have to take this right, like. If there's backlash, you kind of have to stand on that. You kind of have to take it.
I agree.
If you fucked up, you fucked up. Like you took that chance.
Yep.
And sometimes they hit, but sometimes they miss. And if they miss, like this is what ends up happening. But at the same time, like I'm sure this nigga just built an audience. I'm happy I got that off my chest. Let's do comedy news this week.
Comedy news?
Yeah, we'll do comedy news and then we'll do the poll results and then we'll get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
So again, this being a comedy podcast, every week now I like to cover at least one trending comedy news story. There is a comedian right now that is making some waves. What's it? David Lucas?
Yeah.
Fat nigga. That oh bro, and he would roast the shit out of me. He's such a good like. Do you watch those episodes of Kill Tony?
Yeah.
All right. So if you're not familiar, Kill Tony is a very popular. I don't know why you wouldn't be familiar with it. It's like the #1 fucking poppin' comedy thing right now. It's essentially a live streamed open mic run by a pseudo gay white comedian named Tony Hinchcliffe. Funny dude. Don't know if he's gay or not. Doesn't matter if he is or not. It's just funny. Everybody makes fun of him for it. So whatever. Get your fucking tampons out of your assholes. And he runs this show Kill Tony out of Austin, Texas now. It started at the Comedy Store in LA. They moved it to the mothership ever since Joe Rogan brought his whole crew out there. Tony's part of his crew. They run it every week, and essentially they bring up comics to do 1 minute of comedy, which is wow, bro. Like that's fucking abysmal. 1 minute. And he pulls their name randomly out of a bucket. In comedy, it's called a bucket list. And so they literally do a bucket list show. They have some guests that they book. They have regulars. And David Lucas has built himself up to be a regular on this show. Now, this show is very heavily favored, I'll say, by like drunk frat boy white dudes. Think of the Joe Rogan audience. That's essentially the Kill Tony audience. So David Lucas, like we'll get to it at a certain point, but he makes this point where he's like, black people don't really fuck with me too much. And I just want to make the distinction. This is why I make the distinction of Kill Tony is mainly like frat boy white audience. Even the Austin comedy scene right now, from what I understand, I haven't been there myself yet, but a bunch of my homies have gone. And even just from what you hear from other comics who are established and not established, the way they describe it, it's very frat boy, like the comedy scene out there. And if you watch Kill Tony, you get that immediately. Like most comics open up on Kill Tony with like a rape joke or some heavy sexual fucking, some dirty shit. Like it's that type of crowd. So for a black comic like David Lucas to build up his audience, he got famous from that platform. So like I hope he understands why. Like when he says, "Well, I don't know why black people don't fuck with me too much." It's like, well, niggas don't really fuck with Kill Tony like that. But regardless, I'm a comic. I fuck with Kill Tony. It's a dope platform. If you wanted to see comics bomb and get roasted, it's a hilarious platform. The only problem is a lot of the comics that they get to roast them, it's like if you're not a fan of the Joe Rogan community and the comics that he brings on, you might not enjoy it as much. So this nigga just had a set at another comedy club separate to the Kill Tony thing. He recorded it. He put it online, and essentially it caused a lot of controversy because he made a George Floyd joke. And pretty much all the black people in the audience walked out on it. This was obviously in a white town. It was at a comedy club called the Funny Bone, which is a franchise club in the States, kind of like the Improv where you get them state to state. But yeah, let's bring up the joke first. Let's play the joke.
We never opened that one, did we?
Yes, we did.
No, we opened the interview.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hold on. I'll pull it up.
Okay, my bad.
No
Well, I'll describe it while he's pulling it up. But he was essentially doing this set, and someone was heckling him, and he started, obviously, like David Lucas is known on the Kill Tony.
Look at
platform for being a guy that roasts everybody. He roasts Tony, the host. He roasts all the famous guests that are the panelists. He roasts the band. He roasts everybody, essentially. And that's kind of what got him notoriety on the show. So I don't think that I don't think if you heckle him, you're really smart. Especially if you look up who this nigga is. Like, I don't know why you'd be in his audience heckling him, knowing who he is on stage.
Sometimes he brings people up to get roasted as well.
Yes, that's also, but that's part of the act. Like, he'll bring people up, but I don't want to watch the whole thing.
No.
Nigga try to ruin the whole show, man. All these fucking good ass white people at my show, and you wanted to show them the reason George Floyd got his neck nailed on. It's just a joke, man. I would have never kneeled on George Floyd's neck. I would have shot that nigga. That was...
David Lucas makes the joke to the crowd. Some niggas heckling him, and then he brings up George Floyd. Do you remember how it went?
He said something about if he kneeled on his neck, he wouldn't kneel on him, he'll just shoot him.
I would have shot that nigga.
Yeah, something like that.
And then the whole crowd gasped. The crowd is majority white people, so most of them weren't offended. And then pretty much slowly throughout the rest of the video, all the black people walk up in groups, like in separate groups, and walk out of the show. Like, do you think, like, you not being a comic, let me get your opinion first. Do you think he went too far?
No.
Were you offended?
No.
Yeah, all right. But yeah, see, the problem is that you're still closely associated with comedy. So
Yeah, but
you kind of already don't have feelings about this shit.
my thing is, and we'll maybe go into the whole Patrice thing, but it's like, it's a comedy show. He's not there to be malicious.
Correct.
Right? But yet people take it as a malicious act. Like they take it as if he actually sliced somebody with a sword. But it's just a joke. You know what I mean? Even if it's not a good joke, we'll go into that. But it's like, you're in a place where jokes are going to be flying, and like people take it so personally as if he personally attacked them.
Yeah.
And then also, I think there's also like a whole grandstanding thing where you get social points if you are outraged and you leave the comedy show, because then you could be like, oh yeah, he said this and I walked out. Fuck that nigga. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, no, I obviously agree with you. Like, especially in the context of a comedy club, anything you say on that mic, if you're gonna take that shit seriously, you're dumb. I think, like, as an audience member, if you're gonna be offended, but you've walked into a comedy club. And I would like to know, like, who went to this show, because obviously he's been blowing up, right? So, like, did you not do your research? I think he even brought it up in the video, but he's like, who's coming to my show and not doing research, nigga? This is what I do. I talk crazy, salacious shit. Now, even me, like, I wouldn't really, like, I can't say, though, if I thought of a good George Floyd joke, I wouldn't try it, because I definitely would.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, especially as a comic. If you think something is funny, your whole fucking duty is to
fucking try it.
To try it, like, or else what are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, I see it like, you ever, like, when you watch the X Games and you see a guy, he's gonna hit the big air ramp and he's gonna try and do like best trick or whatever.
Yeah,
you're trying to stomp something. Like when you watch Nigel Houston, he jumps down like the fucking 12 set.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He's trying to land some sick trick. That's kind of how I see comedy. It's like, okay, this is a hard thing to do, but you want to make it as funny as possible, as clean as possible, and then you stomp the landing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like an extreme
but like
sport.
what he was doing was a riff. So, like, he took a real big riff. He took a real big gamble doing a fucking George Floyd riff and then doubling down. Like, that's him as a comic. That's who he is if you watch this shit. Yeah, that's who David Lucas is as a comic. He was obviously trying to do the shock thing. There's not many black shock comics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think I would categorize like Patrice as a shock comic.
No.
That guy was
kinda though. Cause like he's not a shock comic because he's very insightful, but he'll say some stuff that shocks you at first.
Yeah, but that doesn't make you a shock comic.
I know.
David Lucas saying I would have shot George Floyd instead of kneel on his neck. That's shock comedy.
Yeah.
Patrice was never going up there. Patrice was just literally relaying like real information in a funny way.
Yeah, but even Patrice would even say in the beginning he'll say something so egregious to start with and then work back from that. So they're like, I'm not saying he's a shock comic. I agree he's not, but he does shock you at first, and then he's like, okay, hear me out.
Yeah, but that's not
Hear
what
me
shock
out.
comedy is. Just like,
Well, shock comedy is just trying to say something for the shock of it.
yeah,
And leave
like
it there.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like Jason Rouse.
I don't know who that is.
He's a funny white boy from Canada. He's in the States. He's been in
Okay.
the States forever. He's like my OG.
Okay.
He's like probably the most known shock comic out of Canada, I would say.
Okay.
And he talks about like fisting old grandmas and shit like this. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah. That
like,
even just shocked me.
You're
Yeah.
saying like lewd shit
Yeah.
for the sake of saying lewd shit, but he makes it funny. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I don't know. I don't think any audience should be walking out. Like your reaction is enough.
Yeah.
You know, to a comic, especially like Dave Lucas. I don't know how long he's been doing it, but that reaction is enough for him to know. Like he might double down again, and then like he's taking those liberties. I wouldn't have personally made that joke, but I'll never be a person that says don't try and tell a joke because that doesn't even make sense in my head. And that goes to the whole thing that Patrice was arguing about on that famous Fox News interview that he was doing. Like we won't even pull up the clip anymore because so many people have seen it at this point. But essentially, he's defending like some lady is arguing with him that people shouldn't be able to tell anything they want. And then the interviewer is asking him, like the news anchor, he's like, should people be able? Yeah, but isn't a rape joke doomed to fail? And then Patrice is like, I've heard a couple. Come to my show. Yeah, he's like, come to my show. And it's like, but that's the thing. He's like, and then he goes on to say, it's like, good and bad jokes are birthed from the same place.
Yes.
You don't know what's going to be a good or bad joke before you tell it, but you should be able to make the attempt. And that's freedom of speech. That's like the fundamental fucking backbone of the whole freedom of speech argument there. So yeah, man, like, but at the same time, and I even have to take this, right? Like, if there's backlash, you kind of have to stand on that. You kind of have to take it.
I agree.
If you fucked up, you fucked up. Like you took that chance,
Yep.
and sometimes they hit, but sometimes they miss. And if they miss, like this is what ends up happening. But at the same time, like I'm sure this nigga just built an audience off of this controversy. You know, more people are gonna know about him.
Yeah, that's another thing I was thinking because, you know, he was saying, oh, well, black people don't fuck with me because da-da-da-da. But I'm sure there are black people that might see the whole controversy.
That like
and be
that
like,
shit.
Who's this? And they're like, oh, that wasn't even that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then now he's got black followers.
I personally just don't. I personally think he's obviously right to. Like I wouldn't know his audience or not. He knows. Obviously, it's his audience.
Yeah.
But if he's saying that black people don't really fuck with me too much, like, even for me coming up in Canada, bro, I had to figure this shit out. I had to because it's all white audiences up here. So if you're performing for majority white audiences and you're not finding niggas, like you got to go find niggas, bro.
Yeah.
Because niggas, especially in Canada, they're not going to comedy shows, bro.
Yep.
That's not
too
some
white.
nigga shit up here, bro. That's really not. In the States, you have the population that niggas know about. There's enough niggas that know about. But it's so small up here that you really have to go out and find the pockets of fucking immigrants, bro. Like you gotta find them and make sure you perform for them. So, like I mentioned, going back to the whole thing of Kill Tony being a majority like frat boy white audience, and the Austin comedy scene itself, the audiences there are like frat, like they like the dirty shock comedy, they like the rape jokes and all that shit a lot. You know, you can obviously go out there and do whatever. If you're funny, you're funny, but they love that shit. And that is the Kill Tony audience. So I don't know why this nigga would say, I don't know why black people don't fuck with me. I just don't get that. Maybe I don't know how long Lucas has been doing comedy, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe he just doesn't get that.
He says it's probably like 6 to 8 years, like around there, 9
Oh,
years.
this nigga's been doing it, bro.
Yeah.
So he should completely understand that. Maybe he's just saying that because he feels like he has to, or that's just, I don't know. Because like for me, it's very obvious. I'm like, you got famous off of a frat boy audience comedy show. Why the fuck would your audience be black? And then on top of that, so you, like the clips that are coming out are him roasting back and forth, doing dirty roasts and shit. And yeah, black people love that shit. Like black people love dirty humor.
Yeah.
But it's like you were telling me he was all deaf digital.
Yeah.
Nigga. Like that's kind of what he's doing with Kill Tony anyway.
That's exactly what he's doing.
But he was doing it with niggas.
Yes.
The only problem is that platform didn't really blow up the way Kill Tony is.
Yes.
So had it happened that way, maybe, you know, he'd have more black people in his audience.
Yep.
That knows like, oh, this nigga's coming to say some outlandish roast style shit. And maybe he'll make a George Floyd joke that is a little too much, but it's fine because we know what we're here for.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the audience that walked out, pussies, bro. Like, you're at a comedy club. Yeah, okay, the joke was bad or whatever the fuck, but like, just don't go see that nigga again then. You know what I mean? Don't like...
But that's what I mean. It's like a whole grandstanding thing because you're the person that I stood up and
now you're trying to take the high moral ground. I'm better than you.
I marched with
you should know better. Yeah, like
you
you're fucking Haram al Bay, bro. Like
Haru
Haram
al Bay.
Haram al Bay.
You know, like, I do think that's also part of it. Like, if you're black, you have to walk out when people do these jokes or else you're not black. And if you're not black, then you're racist and, you know, you're Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. So, you know, it could be because of the joke. It could be because they just wanted the brownie points.
It's like, it's almost like one group of black people stood up and it's like all of them were like, you know what? Yes.
Now's my moment.
And it's February too. Because now the whole thing is like, this is becoming an online fucking controversy or whatever, right? Like, so people are debating, especially the black community is debating. It's like, are we making jokes about this? Is this okay?
Yeah.
A lot of people are trying to fucking be like, no. I'm like, bro, again, in the context of comedy, it's not like this nigga was out in the middle of the street saying this crazy shit.
Yeah.
And I very much doubt he feels that sentiment of what he said. It's a joke, bro. You know what I'm saying? So for all of a sudden you to forget that you're in a comedy club and this nigga's I don't know. It's like both. I don't know. I'm not mad at the comic. I'm not mad at the audience, but I'm mad at them both. But it's like, I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed. It's like when your parents say, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, they give you the...
It's like, come on, bro. Black people don't fuck with me too much. I don't know why. It's like, nigga, come on, be honest with yourself. Anyways, that's this week's comedy recap and comedy news. You guys are the beautiful people of this channel, of my comedy career, and it's only gonna go up from here, bro. I'm telling you. So whoever is a part of this initial, I think right now at the time of this recording, we're at like 340 something subscribers. Like, y'all are the originals, and I will never forget y'all. You know what I mean? Anybody before 1,000, I will let you know right now. My debut comedy special, Black Zeus Self-Portrait, is available early on my Patreon, which is also just launched. Can you launch that shit onto the screen for me real quick? Yep. Black Zeus on Patreon, patreon.com/aka Black Zeus. We got all this launching. Scroll down for me real quick and let's look at the tiers. I only got 3 tiers right. Actually, I think I have 4. And I'm actually gonna restructure this. As of right now, it is the beautiful originals, the beautiful people, the gorgeous people, and scroll over for me one more. We got Supermodel, all right? Y'all are the beautiful people of Black Zeus, the podcast, of my comedy career, of all the, you already know that.